So after the calm, we are in the midst of the storm. Stocks grappling for direction as the Dow puts in yet another triple-digit session. Today's culprit to the downside, sagging oil prices and fading credibility for the Federal Reserve. And Donald Trump set to deliver his child care proposal in just about an hour. His plan will treat child care as a deductible expense. We're going to preview the whole thing later in the show. Plus, 3 alleged members of ISIS arrested in Germany. Does the wave of terror bust make you feel safer or more afraid? Also, Bill Clinton answering questions about Hillary Clinton's health and whether the former president thinks his wife's fainting spell could indicate a serious medical condition.
She's been, well, if it is, it's a mystery to me and all of her doctors, because it's frequently, not frequently, that's not it, rarely, but on more than one occasion over the last many, many years, the same sort of things happened to her when she just got severely dehydrated. And she's worked like a demon, as you know, as Secretary of State and as a senator and in the years since.
Hillary Clinton continues to recover from a bout of pneumonia and that fainting episode. She took the day off from the campaign trail. It's the second day in a row. Bill Clinton said Hillary Clinton is in good health, and even though she has fainted before because of dehydration, there are reports that are still swirling about why the campaign didn't disclose Clinton's illness just sooner. And it was reported also that even factions within the campaign were unaware of her condition in the hours after she fainted. But Clinton still insists the public knows everything they need to know about her.
More about me than almost anyone in public life. They've got 40 years of my tax returns, tens of thousands of emails, a detailed medical letter report, all kinds of personal details. And, you know, it's just so strange that with all of that information out there, and as soon as it became clear I couldn't power through, we said what was going on.
Joining me now, Tammy Bruce, Suhail Kahn, and Blake Rutherford. Tammy, let me start with you. You feel like you know Hillary, like, you know, just like your buddy, bosom buddy you grew up with?
Yeah, you know, we don't. And that proves that you can send out 40 years of tax returns and learn nothing. It proves that if you got enough money, your tax returns can look like anything. Tax returns really don't matter. Letters from doctors really don't so much. I like what Mr. Trump is doing this week, which is having a new physical and having those results revealed, et cetera. But what we've got with Mrs. Clinton here, I think, is very troubling in that it's also less about her health and really just the inclination to immediately lie or mislead about the dynamic, that it's about something more. It's clear this is not just fainting in one instance. We've got years of instances of her fainting, of a fall in the airplane, of a broken elbow when she fell at the State Department, the fall that created the concussion before the Benghazi dynamic. So this is something I think that the American people, it's reinforced with them that this is a woman who you can't really believe anything, and obviously this is a major problem for her campaign.
Do you think, what's more important to the voter, the health situation and the history of health situations, or the sort of the way we have to find out information from Hillary Clinton every single time? In other words, just not being straightforward. Which one do you think will harm her the most?
Look, most Americans, we've all experienced some health issues. 70% of Americans are on a pharmaceutical drug to deal with a health issue.
And some of them even have prescriptions.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I think most of them do. So we understand that health issues happen, but it still is important for the person who is going to be running the world. If they're saying that it's just the campaign is too grueling, how can you take care of the United States and be president? If you can't be honest about your health and you're going to go up to a little girl when you're an active pneumonia patient and you have that such a lack of judgment, how do you have the judgment to be president of the United States? Those are the questions that the American people are asking now.
Blake, transparency. In fact, David Axelrod yesterday, he put out the tweet heard round the world, just exhibiting his frustration with this sort of elite, the Clintons above everyone else, string of errors that her campaign continues to make.
You know, I'm not sure it's a string of errors here. I think what we're talking about is a human experience. Hillary Clinton's kept a breakneck pace. She did it as Secretary of State. She's done it as a candidate.
I guess, Blake,
she's had a health issue.
Blake, let me just,
she's disclosed the health issue, and now we're talking about it.
The idea is that we had to see this video that the audience was watching a moment ago before she even told us or let on about the pneumonia, and even the idea that people in her own camp didn't know that she was diagnosed with pneumonia on Friday and this happened on Sunday. You don't see something wrong with that? A lack of transparency?
No, there are more than 600 people who work for her campaign. Not everyone's going to know everything at any given moment. I think what Hillary Clinton said is exactly right. I got the diagnosis on Friday. I wanted to plow through. I had work to do. I had campaign work to do. It was important for me to be at a 9/11 memorial, and I had a development when I was at that memorial. They focused on her health, and then they disclosed to the public and to the press what was going on, and we now know. So I think there's a lot of transparency coming from this campaign. It might not be as convenient as the media would have liked, but we know what's happened. We know the cause. We've heard the opinion of her doctor, and as the campaign has said many times, there's going to be more information forthcoming this week. So let's look at that. Certainly we need to scrutinize the health information of both candidates. We know nothing about Donald Trump's health, just like we know nothing about his tax returns, and I completely disagree that that's an unimportant consideration. It's really where we ought, if we're going to talk about health, let's also talk about finances, and Donald Trump needs to come clean about both.
Let me bring in Suhail here for a moment, because again, the campaign could have said Saturday, hey, listen, Hillary Clinton's been diagnosed with a form of pneumonia. Maybe it's bacterial. Maybe it's not necessarily contagious or whatever. But she's going to go down to 9/11 because to honor everyone in the event itself. But she'll stay for a brief moment and then leave. That would have covered all the bases, Suhail. Instead, this is the video that certainly will impact your campaign. To what degree, we don't know yet. And the campaign obviously finds itself awkwardly walking this back.
That's exactly right, Charles. It's just another instance of the campaign and Hillary herself just not being honest with not only the American public, but even her own supporters. One thing, if this was just a fainting spell or mild dehydration or even pneumonia, if folks knew about it and were aware of it, and people would not, would say, hey, look, it's a campaign, it's tough, it's grueling, and she's, having to, work through it. But because she deliberately doesn't want to inform the press, the American public, and even her own staff, it just reinforces the secrecy that surrounds the Clintons time and time again. In this instance, not the biggest of a deal, but it just reinforces what we've seen when they've been secret about her emails, what happened in Benghazi,
right,
and so many other critical
right,
issues that the American public has real questions about her and her character. Even her supporters
and the
don't
American
believe she's
public
honest.
also, Tammy, there's a feeling of elitism there that I can't be bothered. Of course, in her interview last night, she calls in Anderson Cooper, and I didn't think it was a big deal. How about you let the American public assess all of this stuff?
Yeah.
Put it out there and let the voters decide. You don't think it's a big deal to let the little people know this kind of stuff?
Yeah, look, she's in a vice of misrepresentations that every new act has to address and make sure the previous misrepresentation remains intact. The New York Post revealed, as an example, that the Secret Service protocol would have been to take that candidate to an emergency room. The campaign detoured to Chelsea's apartment specifically to make sure that you didn't have doctors or nurses who would speak to the reporters about her condition. So even at the risk of further debilitation for the candidate herself, for her own health, they moved her to an apartment instead. So when you are living and have created a world where it is about covering up, you're going to not be able to make the right decisions or the appropriate ones, and that is a consideration that voters make and that Americans, I think, probably find appalling.
She may want to start with a clean slate from here on out. All right, thank you all very much. Coming up, well, Hillary Clinton takes another day off from